Welcome back, everybody, to our first inaugural episode of what we're going to call The Long Thing. My name is Etienne. I'm joined by my good friend Merlin, of course. Yeah, we talk about movies, TV shows, games, anything that has a narrative, basically. Like I said, this is our first show. Merlin, would you mind taking everybody through how this is going to work?
Okay, good. So if you're hanging around our channel, you would have seen that we have some long podcasts. We have some shorter podcasts. And then we've decided to make this an official thing. So we'll have this one, we're calling The Long Thing, which will be loose. We'll be chatting about news and what we've been watching and whatever pops in our head. Those once a week. And then our shorter thing, our weekly review, we'll have a movie that we'll talk about, that we'll research, and look into depth, and we'll make some points and talk about some themes and storyline. This one, on the other hand, is going to be two guys chatting about things they would have chatted about.
In everyday, normal life, that is without a doubt. Very exciting stuff. Let's get right into it. Do you want some news? Can I give you some entertainment news?
Oh, yes.
So this has been happening for a while, and I don't know why, but we've had a lot of like nerd stuff ruined in the toys that they released prior to the movie, and it's happened again with Super Mario Bros. Movie, which I'm quite excited for. I don't know if you've seen that trailer, but it looks quite good. It looks expensive for an animation movie, and Nintendo, I don't know. I feel like they've always had the fans at the core of their decision making, because the Nintendo Switch, for instance, you have one, it's extremely user friendly.
I have a love-hate relationship with the Nintendo Switch, but I must give it is a very versatile handheld, actually.
Is it the battery life that gets you down?
No, it's all the funny buttons, because I was raised on PlayStation, so I like my buttons with little, shapes, colored shapes on it, with the X being close to a jump,
They do change the interaction button and things on the Switch, and it is confusing if you swap over. So I kind of I wish they could just adopt the Xbox remote on the PlayStation, to be honest with you. That's a little bit sacrilegious, I know, but it's the way I feel.
Well, we might be aiming for an Xbox on our side because we have the Xbox Game Pass, and that thing is actually real nice.
The Game Pass is a legit service, that's definitely true. Not that they gave us anything to say that, it's just the fact.
It's just a fact. But you were talking about Super Mario.
Yeah, so I don't know a lot about Super Mario Bros. In the universe that he occupies. Like, I haven't played one of the games to completion yet, but apparently, like, all the main characters are going to be there. This you can see in the trailer, except for the one that they now made a McDonald's toy of. It's a blue Luma star from Super Mario Galaxy, which means nothing to me. But yeah, there's that, I guess. So interestingly, I wonder if you know anything about Super Mario Bros., leave us a comment down below. Tell us what this means. We'd love to know. But this is the article I actually want to talk about. I think it's a nice little segue into what we're gonna talk about for the show. So I read this article on Screen Rant where this guy said that 2022 was the last year that superhero movies would hold such an iron grip on box office numbers, because with the exception of Black Panther Wakanda Forever, none of the superhero movies released last year made over $1 billion. Black Adam, of course, being the most infamous, because that movie was like 15 years in the making, and it didn't even break 400 million. And I know The Rock's quite sour about it. But, I don't know, where do you think we are? Because this year this is quite a good year for superhero movies. We're getting lots of sequels to beloved franchises. Guardians 3, I think, is top of everyone's list. Do you think this is true? Do you think this is accurate?
Okay, so it's no secret that Phase 4 has been floundering. It's been rough after Endgame, right? You know this. I'll rant about it. I basically ranted about it all of last year. I ranted about this at the end of Endgame. Is extending a story indefinitely with no idea of what end you will have in sight will always muddle your story. Okay, if you think about how silly soaps are, by the end, because there's just no end in sight. There's no idea about what direction this story is going.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I think they have some rough idea of where they want to go, but yeah, because there's no clear conclusion in mind, it does feel like a little bit. Because modern day MCU is quite a hectic thing. If you have to if you want to watch any Avenger movie coming out this year or the next, you have to be caught up on like 28 movies, 7 TV shows. That's a heavy task.
Yeah, it is. And there isn't a lot of wide support to get that into everyone's hands. You know what I'm saying? We're not streaming cross-platform or anything like that. You have to be a Disney fan enough to have a Disney Plus account to watch all these Disney shows before you watch the new shows. And I guess sometimes you can get away with a little bit less. But how can you understand what is happening in Multiverse of Madness if you haven't watched No Way Home and WandaVision? And how can you understand WandaVision if you didn't watch all the Avengers that came before it?
It's true. It does become a little bit too much, and also the stakes are unrelatably high. Because where we are now in the concept is it's all multiverse, and like previously you mentioned this Thanos it's half of the universe. That's something it's easily digestible, but across every known multiverse who cares, man? Who cares?
See, I just Thanos was a lot of why Phase 1, 2, and 3 worked. Why the MCU actually could pull off a cinematic universe. I believe this. I think this is why other cinematic universes kind of struggled. Not talking about Star Wars, and we'll exclude it because
it's own thing. Yeah, that's true.
It wanted to be a cinematic universe long before the idea of cinematic universes. So Star Wars on the one side, but other franchises. You remember when was it Warner Brothers that wanted to create the Dark World?
The Dark
Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah, that failed horribly.
Yeah, because you can't just like throw these things in and then make references to other things and stuff like that. You have to have a Nick Fury played by a charismatic person like Samuel L. Jackson popping up in each movie, making you going, oh, it's Nick Fury played by Samuel L. Jackson. That's so cool, even though it's like 5 minutes. That carried us, phase 1, that carried us in the later phases. What is Thanos doing? Oh, he has more Infinity Stones. All these like little things like hinted at a connectedness. And then we had to go and like do some legwork to find the Easter eggs and to know why it's important, why it's connected. I remember in Iron Man 2 how it blew my mind. Nick Fury City with a bunch of screens. There was a Hulk there. I think there was a reference, like a pin on a map of Wakanda. All these like little things. Now we get to a point, there's nothing tying it properly together. It goes in every direction because we say it's multiverse, but not everything is. Some of it is like Falcon and Winter Soldier, That's
very grounded.
Yeah, it's about normal stuff. Loki is about time police. Black Widow had her own adventures. She basically did Winter Soldier, but after Endgame, So everybody's like going in every direction. There's no clear villain. They didn't all go up against the Scarlet Witch in Multiverse of Madness. The Scarlet Witch wanted to eradicate for every universe to get her son back, her sons back, and only, Doctor Strange showed up on that.
That's true. There wasn't even a conversation. There wasn't even hey, you guys looking at this?
Exactly. So we've got, at the same time, a universe that is too frayed, there's nothing tying it together in a cohesive like line or direction. It's too frayed and too interconnected at the same time. Okay, what do you do with that? How do you go from
it? Is a little bit forced as well, because it feels like they keep telling us it's connected at this point, but where where is it connected? Everyone is doing their own thing, and there's supposed to be this family, because that's what the original Avengers was built on. It was these broken people that have abnormal gifts, and they can only find like acceptance and companionship within this group, and then this group together, they also just defend us. That's what made it all interesting. Is you have Iron Man, which is very smart, but he needs this thing. Captain America, maybe too righteous for his own good. The Hulk has this bad side. Thor is very driven by this moral idea that he has, so on and so on. But today we just have characters that do nothing, they say nothing. Like Thor Love and Thunder was a joke. It was nothing. Nothing happened in that movie. I hated every second of it. It was so bad. And it's just because, look, this will tie into something at some point, and to what? To what will it tie in? To nothing.
And that's where, as you said, it will tie into nothing. It doesn't. They don't connect it to a golden thread. Thanos, the Infinity Stone, and then the Avengers, as you said, the group itself, the Avengers. These things kept the MCU together and made disparate movies feel like something bigger and feel like a bigger story, because it really was. There was a proper beginning, middle, and an end to it. But they botched their end so that they could push out more IP with no further end in sight. So now we're just doing what comic books are doing, and as long as there is an audience, we will make these movies, regardless if we should.
Because maybe we should take a step back. Also, it feels like they're underutilizing the concept, because if you're using multiverse as your overall thing, and you've already told us that not all variations look the same, because in Loki, for instance, not every Loki looked like Tom Hiddleston. You can make anything. You can use any of the comic book arcs. Use the single stories that people like. For instance, I love the fact that Ghost Rider, because Ghost Rider is a spirit and can inhabit different people. So one of the comic book arcs is Thanos isn't always a bad guy. So every now and again he does some good. And based on that, the Ghost Rider spirit enters him, which makes him a cosmic Ghost Rider Thanos, which would be one dope movie. Imagine that.
That is some crazy ass.
It's a very high concept. It is, but if you're gonna do multiverse, then do the fun things. It doesn't have to be that hectic, but do like a proper Spider-Verse movie. Like because No Way Home was good, but it felt a little bit proving ground. It's like would this fly? Would people really be into this? And I think after No Way Home, we've just been sort of disappointed. Because I was like, yeah, give us that all the time. You pay these people enough, and anyone entering a Marvel contract now has to understand that this is the name of the game. If you want to make Marvel money, this is the extent that you have to go to. Because I feel it's directly linked. I feel the fact that because the apartness, like you said, it's a little bit annoying. Why are they fighting their own villains at this point? In the comic books, they constantly help each other. Like it'll be Doctor Strange's book, but Iron Man will show up and he'll do some math or whatever, or you'll build something for Doctor Strange and then you'll leave again. And none of that happens in the movies. And I think.
Because once again, like Phase 4 has been like all over the place. If they chose one of their themes, choose the post-blip consequences, or choose the consequences of half the Avengers being downed, or choose the multiverse. Come on, you could have built an entire sequence on this. You could have started with WandaVision on the one end and then ended with the Scarlet Witch on the other end, and have had a villain throughout it, properly like pulling the threads together. I'm just saying, it wouldn't have been hard,
But it does feel like they are rectifying a little bit now. In Ant-Man, we're obviously getting Kang, and he'll definitely be the overarching Avengers villain from this point on. So, and it also, like, this phase, they're definitely wrapping up the quickest. Yeah. We get 2 Avengers movies same year, and then it's done. So it definitely feels like they're going, all right, let's wrap this up, and then we'll go back to the drawing board a little bit. At least I hope so. But that doesn't account for what happened to Black Adam, though. Did you see Black Adam?
I did not.
I think that's maybe the reason why nobody did.
The other problem I think I have with Black Adam is that he's kind of obscure, which isn't a reason to exclude something from the MCU. We do have Guardians. It's just if it's gonna be, in that direction. Now I haven't watched it, so I can't properly judge it. But when I saw trailers for Guardians, regardless if it was an MCU film or superhero film or whatever film, it looked like so much fun. It looked like a hell of a ride, and it really was. They, as advertised, it was such a fresh take on storytelling. Loved it.
Yeah, no, I think we all do. Guardians definitely is maybe the benchmark, but maybe you're onto something there. Maybe introducing something as obscure, because Guardians was today. It's wildly accepted, and we all love Groot and all his forms, and we all think Chris Pratt is hot and whatever. But when Guardians came out, no one knew who they were. They were like one of the B teams. So, and they did it with fun and jokes, and I guess it's a dark story if you consider the possible genocide of it all, but it's told very light. Like, it ends with a dance-off.
Yeah, it does end with a dance-off. They did kind of do the entire dramatic MCU Skybeam, although there wasn't a Skybeam. There was that entire dramatic planet-ending thing. And then, Guardians was like, yes, but a dance joke and third joke that solves the movie.
Yep, and it was fine, and it worked. But you are still right. That's some good insight on your part. Black Adam it's heavy, and it starts off out there, and it only gets worse. But it's also, I don't know, the DC, their costumes, Hawkman for instance. As soon as you see that outfit, as soon as you see him come on screen, and it's supposed to be this hero arrival, and then he has that ridiculous looking helmet, and it's just immediately oh, this is for children.
But that's why Thor hasn't had a proper helmet until Thor Ragnarok,
exactly.
And then they fenced it, made it spacey, and that entire movie is ridiculous, so you could have put anything in that movie and it would have worked. I guess that's not true. That's why it is the way it is. But that's why Thor didn't get his traditional helmet until much later, and in a new spin-off way, because we can't.
It looks bad. You can't do helmets in movies, man. For some reason, you can do a full face thing like Black Panther or Zemo or whatever, but you can't do a standalone helmet. Batman, I think, is the only one that gets away with the open mouth thing, but it's also because it covers. It's very. The Batman cowl is quite minimalistic. It's just pointed ears, basically.
I'm trying to think of a proper helmet person, and I think it's only Leonidas that passes the Hollywood helmet.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I forgot about 300. It works in that, but it works in that movie because they all have it. They all look the same, so the symmetry of it makes it just more pleasing to the eye. But you're ridiculous. Black Adam isn't all bad, but it does, it ends with if you haven't seen it, spoilers for this movie that no one watched. It ends with him fighting a demon that has a pentagram, carved in fire on his chest, which is yes, that's far, bro. Let's not do that. Let's not.
Is Black Adam DC or Marvel? I forgot.
DC.
I forget.
DC.
Oh, okay. That's my. I was talking about what's happening in MCU and why Black Adam failed, and it's not that at all. It's not related at all. So how interconnected is Black Adam?
No, again, they introduced new heroes. They introduced the Justice Society, which is like a B team for the Justice League. But it's also you can't introduce. You have to bring back some of the other characters. Superman makes a cameo at the end. I think the movie is most renowned for that, but now they've also Henry Cavill's not going to be Superman anymore, so it doesn't mean anything. But nothing besides that. They have it's very Shazam-y. He also has a kid that teaches him all the things he needs to know to be a superhero. And he talks about Batman and Superman, but that's not enough. You can't verbally reference your other properties.
I just wanted to know how it connects to which DC
Shazam
some cinematic franchise at this point, because DC really had a let's throw everything at the wall and see what sticks kind of approach to it,
especially last year. with the Batman and all. No, but I think Black Adam most closely ties into Shazam because it's the same power source, the wizards and the magic and the whatnot. That's why his outfit looks the same because essentially he is Shazam. But with Shazam only has one of the wizards, I think Black Adam has all of the wizards' powers, which makes him super powerful. Which he is, and they do that well. Like if you watch it for nothing else but to see how they can show someone's power, Black Adam's quite good at that, I have to say. Like it all looks good. It's all very big explosions, very fast flying, big punches, lots of big punches.
What you gonna do?
Lots of big punches. What are you gonna do? The last story I want to talk about. So James Gunn actually he responded to a fan on Twitter. The fan said he was quite nervous about Guardians 3 and the fact that because James Gunn is now going to be the joint CEO of the newly formed DCU. So DC Movies is gonna have a new direction now. James Gunn is gonna helm half of the responsibility to CEO that. So he's already started that job, I think, but he's still finishing up Guardians 3. And in a classic James Gunn style, he replied on Twitter saying, "No, don't worry. I have two editors. The two editors and myself are the only ones editing Guardians 3, and it's a real passion project for him, and he wants his time at the MCU to end on a high." So I think that's all very reassuring. I'm excited. I think Guardians 3 is gonna be dope. Both of those movies are very good.
Guardians 1 and 2. Flippin' life-changing. Guardians 1 and 2. Guardians 1 was life-changing, right? Guardians 1 every time I think about it, I might watch it again now. Every time I think about it, I might watch it again. Watched it. I would have been.
No, we'll definitely take a look at those two movies before the third one comes out. We'll definitely do something for the third one when it comes out as well.
Yeah, I'm excited. What I'm also excited for. Talking about series that have left due date. John Wick 4 is coming out this year. I'm actually very excited about coming out this year.
Yes, I have very mixed feelings about John Wick 4 because you recently watched John Wick 1, right? If I remember, you watched it like
I did. So good.
Don't you think it's such a far cry from at the end of John Wick 1? He almost dies. Like he's exhausted, he's hurt, he's been shot a few times. He almost dies at the end of John Wick 1. And then by the time John Wick 3 rolls around, he falls off roofs and it's all good.
He's so flippin' indestructible. I remember, and it is one of the problems because John Wick 1 was really good because it was grounded. We talked about the realistic shots and cutlass shots, him reloading, him having to fight without his gun. Even the doctor telling him, like, take these pain meds, you'll be able to fight, but your stitches will tear and you will bleed. All those, like, little things, very, very great in the first John Wick, such a good movie. I also really like the second one. I really like the second one as well. The second one took the drama in the first one. You can watch I'm going to throw a plug here. I might throw it again. Movies with Mikey. There's a YouTube channel. Movies with Mikey. Go check it out. He does all three of the John Wicks, and he really goes into the symbolism and everything. And the first one he describes as a mythic rock opera. So everybody except John Wick. Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. When you said it, I was like, yeah, that sounds like a genre.
Everybody represents a Greek god. So you have Ian McShane playing, I can't remember the character's name, damn, hey? But he is Zeus, of Olympus. Even the doorman is named Charon as if he is the ferryman. You have Willem Dafoe representing Hades as death. And then, of course, Vigo representing Ares as war. And then John is outside this pantheon, outside this Olympian pantheon, as Baba Yaga coming in and boogeyman the entire thing. Then in the second one, we shift it up. They even have a scene where he walks through a gallery with ancient Greek sculptures, on display, because that rock opera, that Olympian rock opera, is old news. The second one is a video game. And there you get it. Long sequences, quick reloads, strange lighting, strange environments, even a little mini boss. All those kinds of things.
He does have a few mini bosses, doesn't he?
Yeah.
It's absolutely true. Also, that movie starts off with a tutorial level. It just shows what John Wick can and cannot do. It shows him a little bit in a car. Then he resolves. Yeah. John Wick 1 is great, but John Wick 2 is my favorite as well. As a sequel, as the idea of a sequel, it's exceptional. What I especially like about it is it starts off resolving the plot from the first one. There's no one from the first one is coming back. He's resolved that now. And then it introduces this another aspect of the world. Because that's the thing about John Wick that I like the most, is the world. I do think it's a bit ridiculous that everyone in New York City is an assassin of some sort. But whatever. It's hyper-realistic. Like at some point, even the hot dog vendors or someone, you can give a gold coin to anyone and they'll immediately know what it is and what it's for and crime. And I also think that they need to introduce a contrast to John Wick. I thought it would always be cool because John Wick in his law, he did something for the Russian syndicates that was an impossible task, and based on the bodies that they buried that day, they built the syndicate that they have now, which is the one that he dismantles in the first one. So that initial task, because no one knows how he did it, you can easily introduce a cop character, make it very simple. They were raised in the same houses. He always wanted to do the right thing. He told John Wick to run away. He joined the military, became a policeman. John Wick became John Wick. But then because they were like brothers, John Wick asked this guy to help him with that thing, and being a cop with a little bit of a loosened moral value, he did it, saving his brother. He wanted out. He said, okay, fine, I'll help you this one time, and then bring that character back. Because and they have done it. They have given John Wick like counterparts. They did Halle Berry. So he's not the only one in that world that knows how to is this good at fighting and killing and whatnot. And I just think that'll make it a bit more interesting, because at this point it's just Keanu grunting at people just before he kills them, and it's entertaining. It is, but I don't think how you can keep it up narratively without introducing something a little bit different, especially when your world is so densely packed with opportunity.
Oh, see, the story isn't finished yet.
Yes, but also 8 movies. You can't go. How many can they do? 4 is stretching it. A trilogy is nice. We like a trilogy. So 4 puts you in the realm of, after this we get recasts. It gets sold to another studio. Becomes From Dusk Till Dawn 2. Horrible.
I want to say this. If you look at the structure of the John Wicks narratively, the first one is him taking revenge because somebody wronged him. He killed his dog and stole his car. And then he dismantles everything and everything like that. But everyone in that movie tells him the consequences of this is you will not be able to leave again. Kind of prophesizing the fact that we will not let John Wick end. So the first one you can almost see as a prologue, and then from the second, third, and fourth, you can create a trilogy. If I have to rationalize for myself,
that makes a lot of sense. That's literally what Winston tells him when he shows up at the hotel. He actually says, if you dip a pinky, even so much as a pinky back in this pool, something will reach out and grab you back in. And that is exactly what happens. After that, he stays in it. But also, John Wick doesn't make the best decisions. For someone that wants out, he kind of self-fulfilling prophecy-wise keeps himself in it. He kills that guy in the hotel. He could have waited. He could have waited to catch him outside. Something, if it was that important.
If this movie was directed by Christopher Nolan, Keanu Reeves' character wouldn't have been John Wick. It would have been K or KR or something like that, as an actual reference to the actor, in that meta kind of way.
That would have been cool as well, man. Why not?
Trying to comment on the events in the movie is kind of like trying to comment on Keanu Reeves and the John Wick series as well.
That is absolutely true. He's made it very much.
So much.
I don't think he's that great of an actor. I think he's very nice. I think he looks like a nice guy, but I don't think he's that great of an actor. Yes, people will leave comments. I hope. Fight me in the comments. But I don't think he's that great. He chooses his roles well, and he does things like this. But this also, John Wick, without a doubt, is based on his experience as Neo. Like, it wouldn't be Like you can, if you had to tell me Keanu thought about Neo and why that mattered and why those movies were successful, it's because you have this character. And also now they introduced John Wick, and John Wick 1 is very cool. The fact that everyone recognizes him, but you don't know who he is, very, very cool. This respect and fear that everyone has for him in his world, it's, yeah, well done to them. But we're not only getting action movies, we're getting some hectic ones, some offbeat ones as well. Nolan does actually have a new movie, now that you mentioned him. It's called Oppenheimer. Have you seen the trailer for this?
And is it about Robert Oppenheimer?
It is indeed. It stars, I think, Nolan's favorite character actor, Cillian Murphy. Is it Gillian Murphy? It's Cillian Murphy, right? The guy from Peaky Blinders.
Oh, okay.
He plays the titular character himself. The interesting thing about this movie, and why I think you definitely have to go see this in cinemas, is they're going to do the New Mexico Trinity test. So there was one nuclear test that they did before they actually dropped the bombs, and they did it in the New Mexico desert. And that thing was called the Trinity test. And Nolan has promised that they're going to recreate that test practically, because we've never seen an atomic blast on screen that isn't CGI. So this will be the first nuclear recorded. It won't be nuclear, obviously, I'm sure, but it'll be the full effect, which is quite exciting if you like mass murder, I guess.
You think Christopher Nolan thinks he lives in the real world?
No, definitely not. I don't think he thinks of this place as a simulation either, and he's just a little bit above it. I honestly think he thinks his mind occupies a different time and space. Because that guy does get crazy. Tenet was an exercise in arrogance, let's be honest. It was him getting carried away a little bit. But why?
Maybe. But he's always had, like, these kind of ideas. Maybe he does get a little bit vain, I guess, but he's an odd duck, hey?
He is. But he's not, because the thing about Christopher Nolan is I think he's like the poster child for it, but his brother writes with him most of the scripts and does the majority of the writing, and that guy is weird. Might not be.
Okay, but the madman is now going to create a nuclear test practically.
Yes.
Like, where do you even begin?
That's no idea. I think, bro, how even? Because you would have to create that explosion, so you'd have to use, can anything other than that create, I don't know. I doubt it will all be real. Like, they'll definitely have to post some of it, I'm sure. But yeah, still very exciting. Just the scope of it. Because your mind does recognize real from not real.
It does.
So I think it'll be quite a spectacle. I'll always go see Nolan movies, so I'm quite excited for that one. I'm definitely going to be there for that.
Okay. You can make me watch it. I'll be open to watching it. That's interesting.
Then back to the camp, we get a new Indiana Jones this year. So
help us all.
Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which sounds like a Game Boy video game. It sounds like an emulator game.
Oh, that's funny. It does sound more like a teen video game or comic book or something than a blockbuster movie.
Man, but I don't know. So I've seen the trailer. I'll probably go watch this as well. I'm a little bit angry at Harrison Ford because I don't like it when he famously hates Han Solo. You can't ask him questions about Star Wars or Han Solo, and that always felt to me like, but why, bro? Because he's always like Indiana Jones is his favorite. That's what he liked for the fantasy roles that he played. He digs Indiana Jones the most. But I don't know. I think Indiana Jones has come maybe a little bit too far. The original movie has that glaring plot hole of Indiana Jones does nothing in it. And it doesn't help the plot along all. Which is jarring, but it's still pretty fun. Number 2 has the child problem. And then number 3 is, I think, the strongest Indiana Jones movie. Especially for newcomers. Like, if you haven't seen any of the Indiana Jones movies, or you're trying to show someone the Indiana Jones movie, don't be a purist and show them the first one. Show them number 3.
You're talking about number 3, the Temple of Doom.
Yeah, that's the second one. I think number 3 is it the third one? It's the one with Sean Connery.
You're talking about Raiders of the Lost Ark. Let's just name them by their names.
Then Raiders of the Lost Ark is the first one. I think Temple of Doom is the second one. That's the Caliber one. And then the third one, Let me just look it up real quick. It's completely
blank. I'm also going to ask the all-knowing on my side because I need to.
The Last Crusade. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Yeah.
Okay, so it's Temple of Doom is second and Last Crusade is third. Okay, that's a good one. Raiders of the Lost Ark is the first one. I didn't like Raiders though, but yeah, Last Crusade was really good. I'm not a fan of Temple.
Yeah, me neither. It's just a meh movie. It kind of says nothing. Yeah. It kind of does nothing.
And then it's kind of racist.
It's a little racist, definitely. Yeah. Not good. I don't mind the fourth one as much as the rest of the internet. It is ridiculous, obviously, hiding in a fridge while a nuclear bomb goes off and then still being in the vicinity and not getting all them rads is obviously bullshit. But it's also whatever. They just wanted to make something look cool, and I don't hate that.
I'm sitting here and I'm looking at the Indiana Jones, and he's now an archaeologist and all that, and discovering all these things. But in his world, Christianity exists, both the Ark of the Covenant and the Holy Grail. Also, Carly exists, and she can give people powers and stuff like that. And interdimensional aliens exist.
Yeah, that's right. They're not normal aliens. They're interdimensional aliens. Fuck, I forgot about that. Ugh, it's a bit much.
They're interdimensional aliens. So not only is there a crusader who is kept alive because of the power of God and the Holy Grail, there is also interdimensional aliens. God damn it.
And the dialogue.
How do you reconcile that?
No, you can't. No, you just. But lean into it then. That's what I say. Like if you have all these things, rather just lean into it. Maybe this movie does. It's been a few years. They've obviously had time to digest all the fan feedback and whatnot. So maybe that's like we all know. Hollywood is not in the business of learning what people want. That is not their main priority. So we'll see. It could go, but I think it could go either way. Maybe they bring it back. Speaking of franchises that are coming back, we get Fast 10. It's filming this year. You excited? You excited for some more Vin Diesel?
Wasn't the last one like the last Steps ones? What is happening?
Although, no, I don't know.
I must say I do appreciate them sticking it out to the point that they can make the 10th one just an X. Like, that's good. That's some good stuff. But now it gets silly. Like, all the names will get silly after this point, right? Fast 11?
No.
What?
It's not.
11 and the Furious? Furious 11? No, there's no way to make the word 11 sound cool unless you're a psychic girl. And, you know.
That's very true. And it's part of your reading. That is the only time the symmetry of 11 will matter. No, after this it'll become, they'll probably drop it completely, or it'll become colon, so it'll be Fast : Vinny on his own, or Fast : let's look at the cops some more, or whatever.
Oh no.
Okay. Not gonna see it, don't care. I didn't watch the last one I watched was number 7, and that was purely for the Paul Walker tribute. I do not care.
You got a lot farther than I did.
Really?
I ended Tokyo Drift. After that, I never needed to watch another Fast and Furious in my life.
I actually kind of like Tokyo Drift.
Tokyo Drift was, okay. Back then, you had less movies to choose.
That's true, man.
The media wasn't so oversaturated, so you watched what you had and you were happy about.
Yeah, and what we had was Tokyo Drift. That's true. Then I'm going to say something. It's not going to win me any favors, but I am sort of excited for the new Transformers movie as well. I like all those movies. I don't think they're that bad. They are what they are, and whatever.
It's a simple rule, man. I don't need a thesis.
Yep.
I don't need any interesting lore.
Nope.
I don't even need characters with proper, drama.
Mm-mm.
I want to see giant robots fighting other giant robots.
In slow-mo, preferably, so I can see what's happening.
Yeah, explosions in space, a dinosaur fighting a King Kong, but they're both robots, and they have robots with robot swords. Yes, this is what I need.
That is the good stuff right there. I hope they transform a bit more, because these Transformers don't transform all that often anymore. It's either you get them in their robot form or you get product placement of the cars, because yes, that's all the Transformers movies are doing, are selling cars. Like those last few, it's quite hectic how they just show off those cars. So I hope the Transformers transform a little bit more this time around. And why I'm only sort of excited is I don't think we need a human character at all in a Transformers movie. Like honestly, we don't need to relate to them. It's giant robots. It's whatever. Like we don't. I get that they use the people to show scope and whatever, so you can understand like that guy is about as tall as I am or a little bit taller or whatever. So a Transformer would fit me. Like is to give you scope of it, but it's also unnecessary. Just show normal people walking in the background. It'll be the same thing. We don't need an Autobot Jesus the whole movie through.
You know, uh, what's her name? The tomboy from Atlantis. I know this is coming out of the left field. The mechanic in the movie Atlantis: The Lost Empire, the Disney movie, that like feisty, tomboyish girl that is also a mechanic. A character like that can like help Transformers actually, instead of being, a pasty white guy that just runs around screaming things. Just somebody that can actually like maybe upgrade a transformer or understand what they're talking about because they are an engineer or whatever. A character like that would be interesting for me. Like I do think we need a person to help us relate, not just scope, but also concerns. Because if it's just robots, they will. How do you make them care about things we care about? Right? It's that little thing, that little bridge. So having a character that is likable to both your audience and likable to the Transformers helps build that bridge. That's what I think about that. Having a pasty white guy that screams the whole time in that location. Maybe we can beat that part of the Transformer formula.
Yeah, no, we definitely have to, because Mark Wahlberg did the same thing. He was also just yelling and being overly too much, but then also being a knight.
And everything.
Yeah, and just who needs it? Maybe they do go, because just basing this on the trailers, but based on the trailer, he does seem more chilled, this guy. So they got the kid from Detective Pikachu, which he's good. He was entertaining. He's fun.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so I think that'll work well. But that's about it.
Giant robots don't Age of Extinction me. Okay, I'm really angry about that movie.
Why? I kind of like Age of Extinction
because you promise giant robot dinosaurs. You promised giant robot dinosaurs. Then you introduce Ironhorn, which is arguably the most interesting Transformer villain, and then you still insist to bring Megatron back for God knows what reason. So you spend this entire time in the movie having this and the pissing contest between a guy and his daughter's boyfriend.
Yeah. No one needed.
And then at the end of the movie, at the real end, you give me giant robot dinosaurs,
which is not enough. Giant robot dinosaurs.
All I wanted was Optimus Prime riding giant robot dinosaurs. All I wanted. And instead of that, you gave me a bunch of nonsense. Right? Too much nonsense. I was so angry at the end of that movie. God, I was. I can't.
Now that you put it into perspective, you're absolutely correct. But they did, because in the trailers, they showed us, you're getting a T-Rex Transformers, and you're getting this flying thing. And then they did nothing. And did they just leave at the end as well? To go where exactly? Or is no one concerned about these? Because they're huge.
Yeah. No, man. I'm real angry at that movie. So maybe, we're in an era where franchises don't die.
Nope.
So one bad movie isn't enough to kill a franchise at this point. It isn't like in the 2000s where if one movie bomb was dead for 20 years,
Definitely. If it still makes a profit, they'll push out more.
Yeah. Which now it's a bit more, we're going to do these 6 movies, right? And then if the third one does bad, we correct the course in the fourth one. 4, 5, and 6 or whatever. That's where the point we are right now. We don't promise a movie. We promise a string of movies, a franchise, an entire IP to get into.
Yeah, a full experience roster of characters. It's true. Yeah, that is what's promised. Now, speaking of things that have gone into perpetuity, we're getting another Mission Impossible as well. This one feels a bit arrogant because the full movie title is Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Oh, no.
Which is like, why? You're gonna charge me twice for the same movie? That's what you're gonna do. But you're gonna charge me twice to see one story. In a world where I have Netflix and Amazon Prime. It's just, and it's gonna be like 3 hours long. They're gonna be like 3 hours long.
How far we have strayed from God. Is this going to be the end of the Mission Impossible? So is it like Harry Potter and Twilight, where the last book is split into two? Is that what they're aiming for, or is this its own thing, part 1, 2, and 3, like a new trilogy? Do you know?
No, not at all, man. Not that I've seen. I kind of stay away from the marketing for this as well, and I know, like Tom Cruise, he helms most of the projects that he's in. Well, almost all of them that he's in, and they're very tight-lipped. Like, I don't remember any like news or shorts or anything from Top Gun Maverick before they came out. A movie it was announced, there was a trailer, then it came out, and I think this is gonna follow suit. This was announced. There's not a trailer yet, as far as I know, and then we'll get the film. And that'll be about it. They don't really talk about these movies beforehand. They show off a lot of Tom Cruise trying to kill himself in whatever stunt he's trying to do this time. Which is that is why we all watch these movies, is to see Tom Cruise finally killing himself. And they're all very impressive. Like that thing he did on the airplane, and I don't remember which one it is. I want to say Rogue Nation. But yeah, that airplane stunt, for instance. Like, how do you top that? How do you top holding onto the side of a plane while it lifts off? It's gonna have to be something, I guess.
That is rough, eh? Are we really just at the point that we don't make new movies? I know it's not true. I watch new movies with new interesting plots and things like that, but it just seems like
it's definitely not what's going for. If you want something new, we are getting. There's an interesting Adam Driver movie coming out this year called 65, or it looks interesting at least. But it's also, like I said now it's a new movie, but it's not. It's something you've seen before. It's more sci-fi. It's more nerd culture-y. I don't know. Barbie is not new. Super Mario Bros. Is not new. We're getting another Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, apparently. That's not new. Final Destination, another one for some reason. A remake of The Exorcist, which is definitely not new. M. Night Shyamalan is back at it again, but I don't know. Yeah, so he also has something coming out this year called Knock at the Cabin. It actually looks interesting, but it's also not. It's basically the Cabin at the Woods. So it's also not.
See, as I said, I know we do get new stuff. We've got Kaleidoscope on Netflix, which is, it's just a heist, but even just switching up the format is quite interesting. And we did get Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I haven't seen a thing like that. So
we'll definitely also look into that movie this year. No, you're right, we do get them, but it's like you have to go search for them a little bit. Like everywhere wasn't pushed down your throat like Black Adam was. It's like you had to find it. We had to be in the know a little bit to see that movie. More people should, definitely. More people should watch that movie.
Indeed.
Then the last movie that I think I'm a little bit excited for is Dune Part 2. I've gotten hectically into the Dune-verse lately. I haven't read the books yet because there's like 1,000 of them, and I'm not sure that I want to, because I like the movie. I like how it's told, how it's set up, and Dune also is very much for the fans of the series. So there's lots of stuff that you can go look into afterwards, I've had quite a YouTube rabbit hole experience with Dune. There's a lot going on in that lore.
Yeah, I've actually stumbled in the lore. I haven't read the books, watched the movie. I've never shown an interest in Dune. Not anything personal, anything sci-fi. Takes me a little bit longer, maybe even 50 years. But I've stumbled on it because they do so much with religion in the movie, or in the story. So in my religious studies, I've actually stumbled upon what do you call it, Krishlam, and the religious stuff going on in that story. It's quite interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm excited for that. I think I'll definitely this time because I didn't see the first Dune in cinemas and I regretted that a little bit. So I think we should go for Dune 2 because it's quite a spectacle. It's very expensive.
Okay, interesting.
And then the very last movie, I think you'll like this one, is one called Renfield. So it's a double Nicker feature. So we get Nicholas Hoult and Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage is playing Dracula. Nicholas Hoult, he played Beast in the good X-Men movies. He's gonna play Renfield, and it's a modern take on it. So if Dracula and Renfield survived all the way through to today, how it would be. It looks very gruesome. It looks very fun. Yeah, so I guess we'll see. There's a trailer out for that if you want to watch it. But yeah, those are the movies I'm going to look out for this year. And then one I'm definitely going to watch but not talk about or tell anyone I watched was The Meg 2, The Church. Because always love a big monster. Always.
I won't keep that against you, old friend.
Like I said, no one's gonna know, so it'll be fine. It'll just be my little,
It would just be your little secret.
Exactly.
There's no one listening.
But yeah, it's gonna be a hectic year. I don't know if all these movies coming out are really coming out. I see a lot of them say filming or post-production or just announced. So I think we'll come back to this in June, maybe. Look at what's happening for the rest of the year after that. But yeah, getting lots of Marvel stuff, lots of DC stuff. Actually, no, I think all the DC stuff's been cancelled. So Wonder Woman 3 I know was announced, but that's been cancelled. I don't think we're ever getting that Flash movie, especially considering Ezra Miller is now expected to plead guilty to the burglary charge. So that's intense.
So, shame. The poor DC.
Yeah, man, they just can't get a foot up.
Sorry, you said Henry Cavill isn't playing Superman anymore?
No, they scrapped that character. And they just made him interesting as well. Because Superman, I get. So what James Gunn said is, he said Superman's difficult because you can't really. But you can. You can definitely introduce. They do it in Marvel all the time. Like the power scale between Thor and Black Widow, for instance, is immense. The power difference, I mean. But you can still have them in the same movie and they both have jobs. Like Thor will fight Ultron itself. Black Widow fights the Ultron offspring, essentially, the robots. It works. You can still have, you can use Superman. I think the only thing is, like, you can't limit Superman.
I'm thinking, see, you're not going to send in Thor if you want to have the operation go stealthy, right? Between his powers and his character flaws and his personality, it's not going to work. You're going to send Black Widow. She's the one that's going to do that properly. That's why Nick Fury, recruited her before the Avengers, because they have, egos and a bunch of stuff going on where she is a trained assassin and killer and spy and everything like that. So I get where you're coming from. And do you think if you're going to have Superman in a movie with someone else, it is a good idea to contrast that person? I don't get it where we're saying Superman can't, because it equals as Wonder Woman and Batman, and Batman can pull almost anything out of his ass if he puts that at the front. And Wonder Woman is a goddess, a literal Olympian goddess. Okay?
That's very true. And arguably might be stronger than Superman. Because she straight up fights the tadpole by herself. I call him what's his name? What's the thing that they resurrect?
Are you talking about Doomsday or Steppenwolf? Which one?
Well, both actually, because she holds her own against Steppenwolf longer than the others do as well. Until Superman shows up and kind of sorts it out. But that was also just let's not talk about the Justice League movie. We just don't have the time.
Which we don't. I am kind of sad that they're scrapping Wonder Woman. I was having a bunch of fun. Actually, with the character, it wasn't great, but none of the DC Universe movies was great at this point. Enjoyable to watch. They've been a kind of painful and Snydery
Yeah, that's very true, actually. There are ones that lessen the pain, like Shazam. Shazam's easy to go through. But I'll also be honest, I've never watched that movie again. I watched it the one time, and that was it. That was enough. Like, I've seen The Winter Soldier 5,000 times, I think. I've seen Endgame a fair amount of times. Infinity War, tons. But I've never gone back. I do kind of like Batman versus Superman. I think if it wasn't so, I don't know how to improve that movie. Maybe it's the Lex Luthor of it all, because he's ridiculous.
I like the concept more than I like.
Yeah, that's maybe the most fair way to say it, definitely. Ooh, I almost forgot. This is right up your wheelhouse. Actually, we're also getting a Dungeons and Dragons movie this year.
Oh yeah.
Thoughts? You excited?
I am excited. Looks like they're going to pull a Guardians on it, which I am very happy about.
It does look like it. Also looks like a fantasy heist movie, and that's all. You can never heist anything. Make heists. Yeah.
And it's a good premise for a Dungeons and Dragons story. I'm just going to say. Because it's, what is it? The thing's Honor Amongst Thieves, I think
that's
is
the one.
Subtitle. Mm-hmm. And in the trailer, we immediately see the plot. The end of the world's going to happen because they stole something they shouldn't have. And I'm like, that's such a D&D situation to be in. I've sat so many times reminiscing on my couch, looking out the window at the garden, thinking I could never create a villain that would be such a threat as my players are to themselves. Truly hilarious, actually.
That would be cool. I'm gonna keep that. We should definitely come back to this then. Maybe we should do a D&D episode before the movie comes out, because I didn't think about it like that. That is actually a lot of sense. It's I don't know much about D&D, but yeah, that does sound like a good premise for a board game, especially one that's driven by narrative being told between friends. Why introduce a villain when you can just have them squabble amongst each other?
And they do, and just the way that D&D's rules is like laid out at this point, it is really in the favor of the players. So you literally, if you're making balanced action, balanced combat and enemies and stuff like that, the players walk all over them. They're so used to, how can you say, such a wide variety of powers that each player has, and now there's 5 of them, and it's just like this sea of options that they have. So they just walk through like almost anything, you could dragon, flippin' demons, whatever. They find a way. They're tenacious bastards. But then, they will shoot themselves in the foot a lot of the time as well, and that is really hilarious to watch. Or when they start turning each other. I said that, but I don't like that at all, actually. I have a better taste in my mouth for that. My final thought of it is, I think it's a really, fun theme for a D&D movie, because that is something I can see happening at my table. You putting a massive skull, a bunch of dead bodies, scorch marks, a literal warning that says, do not take this stone from this coffin, and they will take it. Right?
It's what they do, like you said, they're like children. It's exciting. I think we should maybe go back and watch the first Dungeon and Dragon movie, and then we'll do a quick comparison to the board game. And then because I'm also excited for that. I like Chris Pine. I think he's a fun actor. I think he's a weird guy in real life, but I think he's a good actor, so it could definitely be fun. And him playing a bard is also as well. Alright, so you're really leaning into how D&D works and what there is and choices. They didn't go with the obvious, it's not a barbarian and a wizard and a mage and an elf archer. It's a bard and a thief. And let's go low key.
And if a bard is in charge, there's going to be hijinks. So much hijinks.
Well, that is even more exciting. Oh, I think that's it. You have any other movies that we haven't mentioned already?
No. We've properly covered almost every franchise. Or we didn't talk about Star Wars, but that's fine.
We'll do Star Wars on its own, because The Mandalorian, I think, has a soft spot in all of our hearts. And I still haven't watched Andor, so I'm feeling a little bit behind anyway. So Yeah, I guess we'll come back to Star Wars. If you are looking forward to any movies coming out this year that we didn't mention, please leave us a comment down below and tell us why. We'd like to know more. We did leave a couple out for their own thing, like we know Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is coming, and there might be a Marvel's movie, but we'll leave those for themselves because I think we both have a lot to say about those animated Spider-Verse movies because they are great. Not movies, the one that we have. It's really great. We'll definitely do something for that when the time rolls around. Merlin, thank you so very much for joining us. Be back on Friday. We'll do our first review. So Megan came out because January is a bit of a dry month for movies. So Megan was the only real thing. So we thought instead of looking at that, let's look at the idea and other movies like it. And I think we found a real gem. So people want to come back and listen to that. It'll definitely be worth it. Should be out on Friday. Thank you for joining us. Cheers.
Cheers.